This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. It's Monday, therefore we have John Brummett in studio with us. Thank you for being here.
Always a pleasure.
How's your NCAA bracket doing?
I didn't do one, but had I done one, I think I would have probably been near perfect.
You would have picked Gonzaga, South Carolina,
North
Carolina,
no.
and Oregon, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't have.
No?
No.
Who do you think's going to win? You got four of them now.
I think North Carolina will win. I think they will be well behind until the last couple of minutes and somehow win. That's been what they've done with the Hogs and the Kentucky Wildcats.
It didn't happen to them last time, though. Villanova, that last second shot, it was good. All right, let's get to some political business.
Let's do.
Repeal and replace. For Democrats, it may now be called reject and rejoice after what happened late last week.
Right.
What do you make? What is your assessment of the outcome of last week for the House Republicans and President Trump?
Well, I think that we know that the president is not strong on policy. In fact, there's a piece in Politico about some of the Freedom Caucus conservatives complaining about specific items in the bill that was pulled last week. And he said, oh, don't worry about the little blank, used an expletive. We've got to get a bill over to the Senate. He just wanted to look like a good negotiator. This was all about appearances for him, so he loses. The House Republican caucus, John Boehner told us, they can't do anything. They can't function because you've got these Tea Party era people who are sent to Washington to blow up the government that we're trying to get to make work. And so the effect is Trump's a big loser because he's supposed to be about winning, and he didn't win.
And deal making.
And he didn't make a deal. And the House Republicans are exposed for what we already knew, that even with a president, they cannot function. They cannot govern.
Yeah, so in the House Freedom Caucus, which was the real obstacle to the Republicans getting what they wanted here, you got, I'm just going to round off, maybe 35 members out of the 435 members in Congress. I mean, is this the tail wagging the dog? What do the Republicans do about that caucus to bring them in line? Do they start working with the Democrats now from a more moderate position?
Well, that would be the sane thing to do. But I just don't expect any sane things to get done. But we've had time, and we had all these battles back in the Obama days when the Republican leadership in the House and the moderates and Republican members of Congress were saying, we can't shut down the government, this would be ridiculous. And these are the people who did it anyway, and they're big enough to deny a working Republican majority. So if there was statesmanship and leadership, and people wanted to fix the problems with Obamacare, rather than be able to crow that they repealed and replaced it, to try to make it work better, then you would fashion some sort of plan from the center in which you would say to those 35, see ya, and get some Democrats to try to
maybe some members of the Blue Dog Coalition. If
there aren't that many left, but that would be the sane thing to do. But that's not what's going to happen. Do you understand that the president's position, as I understand it now, Trump's position is, well, now the Democrats have stuck us with Obamacare, and it's a terrible failure, and it's only going to get worse. These premiums are going to rise. So in the end, we're going to be the winners on this thing. In other words, he is counting for his ego gratification on your premiums exploding. That's basically what he's saying. And that's not, forgive me, that's not the kind of leadership we need, but it's what we have.
Yeah, so it's basically he's saying that he's going to let the Affordable Care Act implode, is what his theory is there.
He hopes everybody
but do you think that Republicans in Congress and Democrats in Congress will let that happen? Do you think that the Lindsey Grahams, the John McCains, the Paul Ryans, the Nancy Pelosi, do you think they'll let it come to that, just drive the bus off the cliff? Can they operate without the president?
I don't understand. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. I mean, you mean the responsible?
Can they responsibly govern? I guess is what I'm saying. Can you have the leadership of both of the political parties in both chambers say, if he's not going to take this
There's
responsibility?
no evidence of it. I do not see it from the Republican side. I do not see that inclination from the president. And when you listen to Pelosi and Schumer and Democrats who are chortling about how it didn't get repealed and replaced, and considering that a victory, I do not see the evident temperament for that kind of thing. Now, if this October the exchange is open for the next year and premiums are a couple of $1,000s a year and deductibles are $10,000 a year and people are aghast, then under that kind of duress, the kind of duress we had when Wall Street melted down, under that kind of duress, yeah, they would all suck it up and do something.
All right, let's take a break and suck down some oxygen in a commercial break here. We're with John Brummett. This is Talk Business and Politics Daily. We are back with some state politics right after this.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us. Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
And welcome back to Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Brummett. Let's turn our attention to some state politics and talk about the gun debate in Arkansas. Governor Hutchinson signs this bill that went through about 8 incarnations in the state legislature. I've described it as one of the ugliest compromises I've ever seen in terms of how that sausage came out of the sausage-making process. Immediately, there is a push to make some changes to it and put some exemptions in place. The NRA has come out in opposition to this. What do you think happens?
What do I think happens? I think, I hope this is not true, but I think that let me back up. Governor Hutchinson signed, as you just explained, but let me put it in some context. He signed a gun bill for guns galore that he didn't really want to sign, I believe, because he identified at least 3 or 4 things he would like to have changed in it. But what you would normally do in a situation like that is veto the bill and argue for or ask for it to be recalled to fix those things, or veto it and try to sustain your veto. It only takes a simple majority to override a governor's veto, and the NRA runs things right now in the Arkansas legislature. He had no viable option to veto it, so what he did, he signed, not in a ceremony, he wouldn't do this in public. He came out and said, I signed it back in my office. I didn't want to see anybody to see me doing it, but I signed it. But here's Senator Dismang, and he's going to handle a couple of fixes. We need to not allow these guns on the UAMS campus, because that's a network of tunnels. You can go from the school to the emergency room to the hospital. Ball games, we need to look at that, or Razorback games. State hospital, private colleges. So basically, he signed a bill allowing guns basically everywhere, saying we need to fix it with this bill. Dismang passed the bill in the Senate. He's the president pro tem there. He passed it. But now, as I understand it, at this hour, it's hung up in House Judiciary. The NRA is now against the exceptions. The NRA's position is you should be able to carry your gun at UMS, Razorback games, wherever you want. And it is hung up, and they're talking about trying to amend it, trying to fashion some sort of amendment that both the NRA and the governor's office would agree to. Your question was, what do I think is going to happen? I think this thing gets bogged down here in the late stages, and amending back and forth between the 2 chambers cannot produce a workable majority, and we will be stuck with the bill as law that the governor signed, believing it to be a flawed bill. That's what I think will happen. I hope not, but I think that's what will happen.
And what do you think the ramifications of that would be? Particularly the stadium thing is the one. I mean,
see, that's a big one. They're telling me that if this was just UAMS, and just private colleges and just the state hospital, that the NRA would clearly prevail. but you've got Razorback fans. If there's anything comparable in terms of as a force field in Arkansas as the NRA, it's Razorback fans who are aghast at the notion that in the section where they're sitting that there could be crossfire. You know, they just can't imagine after an afternoon of tailgating. We're all going to be armed in the stands. You got Razorback fans on the phone to their legislators. So you've got the governor and some Razorback fans versus the NRA. It's a battle royal out there, but I think it may end up in such a tie that they can't get it done because we're trying to get through. You know.
You think there's been guns at Razorback games before?
Of course they have. Of course they have.
What about alcohol? You think there's been alcohol there at any of it?
Do I think? I'm aware. I'm personally aware that there has been.
Does the gun debate...
From people sitting behind me, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
Does the gun debate in Arkansas eventually move to the place with the current makeup of the legislature and what could be sustainable Republican majorities for many years to come? Does it move to the point where it's just full-throttled open carry, which is what some argue the law already states?
I believe it does.
Yeah.
To witness the power of the NRA in this legislature, to look at the political climate and not see any change, and to have spoken with the NRA lobbyist, what was his name? He was here last week, Caucus, who said if you go to the trouble to get an enhanced training permit to carry your gun, then I'm offended that you would think that you shouldn't be able to carry it anywhere you want to because you have it for your protection. I believe that's the prevailing attitude, and I believe that we've seen that the open carry is probably the inevitable result of that. I don't see anything stopping it. I don't see legislative attitudes or even public attitudes changing.
All right. John Brummett with the final word on that. Thank you so much for being here.
Hope not the final word, but possibly.
We'll watch for more.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
That is all for today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.